for the Wheel of Time. First time readers reading the Wheel of Time. We are on the third book, Precious, because I have been reading them like a speed demon, and I've already finished the next one. So we're going to have plenty of time. Or did I? What's after the... No, wait, I have one more book to read. But I digress. We are here to talk about The Dragon Reborn, which, as usual, so far in this Wheel of Time, to me, has been fantastic. I think that this is high-tier fantasy, and everyone should read it, and everyone should love it and worship it. And here to worship it with me is none other than more Nerdporeal.
Thanks for having me. This was another great read. This was a great read from start to finish. I mean, almost every chapter I found fascinating, and there was a lot of mystery. There was a lot of moving parts going forward, and a certain character was missing for most of the book. But even though he was missing, he was a big part of the book, and he was the reason why the plot happened. And it all led to a very fantastically epic payoff at the end. And when I was reading this, I honestly was thinking Star Wars, but I will get to that when we'll get to that.
Oh, I think I know exactly why. Well, I was thinking Star Wars. I was thinking The Sword and the Stone. There was some of that stuff, the King Arthur, loads of great mythology, but one hell of a climax to this book. This book, I think I read in 6 days, which for me is pretty fast. And because holy shit, it was so good. Pardon my French, but I mean, it's so exciting to have something that's new material that's not new for me, which, by the way, everyone, spoilers only for The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn. And I swear, only because I'm a cranky woman who's had a yapping dog all day that I've been dog sitting, I will block you if you spoil something. It's going to get ugly. It would be something on the lines of some a-hole that spoiled Luke with Darth Vader's son. Yeah, so don't be doing that.
The one thing I've noticed, especially going through some of the recap today, going through some of the plot points that I forgot about. This book, there's a lot of foreshadowing into the next couple books. So I mean, so a lot of our friends say that the first reread of the Wheel of Time is the best, and I think I'm starting to see that because everything is connected. Even the books I don't have the fondest feelings for. There's a lot of connection to those as well. So it's interesting revisiting this. So I might do a reread. Maybe my feelings were all wrong. Maybe I'll do a reread of the series after the initial read.
Yes, absolutely. Oh gosh, wouldn't that be amazing? Though I'm trying to figure out how the hell can you summarize everything? I mean, for crying out loud,
I did a Wheel of Time book club streams with all the guys, and we did them chapter by chapter. Like I like Dragon Reborn was 4 streams, so there's 12 hours, close to 12 hours of content for each book.
Wow.
Except for Shadow Rising. Shadow Rising, there was like 17 hours.
Oh shoot!
Because there were five. Because there was one stream where me and Dane were just talking about two particular chapters. There was just so much to talk about. But with the later books, especially the last book I read, there doesn't seem to be nearly as much to talk about. A lot of the chapters are filler. A lot of them are set up that don't really harbor as much discussion as you would think. So I've been reducing the amount of streams for those, and I think I'm going to do those going forward for books 7, 8, 9, 10. So, but yeah, wow. that's the future. So yeah, I haven't started book 7 yet. I'm going to start that soon. I plan to finish Wheel of Time this year, and I plan to once we get to the last battle and the final book, I want to see if I can get everyone who I've ever done streams with for Wheel of Time involved in a way. So who knows? We might finish at the same time.
We might. Well, my New Year's resolution, and I mean it, I am going to finish this sucker by December 31st at midnight. So that is my New Year's resolution. I tend to keep it, even if eventually toward the end, I've got to stay up all night, and I will do it. I have stayed up all night before gee whiz. The first book I stayed up all night for was These Happy Golden Years by Laura Ingalls Wilder when I was 11. So it can happen.
Laura Ingalls Wilder. Did you hear about Little House on the Prairie being remade by Netflix?
Yes, and it's probably gonna be absolutely atrocious, except for the fact that I've always been a little bit of a purist about Laura Ingalls Wilder and the real Laura Ingalls Wilder, and the TV show actually took a ton of liberties with the history and the characters. So, I might be able to separate it in my brain because the TV show was a fictionalized version of Laura Ingalls Wilder. However, I think people really like the TV show. Yeah, they're not gonna be happy one little bit. Goodness knows what they're gonna do to it. I mean, they can't race swap though because these are real people. But then again, they've done it with Anne Boleyn and other. So who knows?
And Cleopatra. So yeah,
Cleopatra. Yeah. So who knows what they're gonna do? But in any case, yeah, we do not appreciate that, Precious.
So Megyn Kelly basically goes on her podcast and literally says, "If Netflix, if you do this, I'm going to destroy you," because that was something I grew up with. That Little House on the Prairie, and then of course the mainstream media gets the actress that played the young daughter. And she's like, "Oh, it was always woke and blah, blah, blah." Just like I've heard a lot of, moronic statements from, has-been actors, saying, "Oh, the Star Trek has always been this," or something. So
no,
a lot of it's like media, you're not convincing anybody. You are out of touch, and you're bringing people, older actors who are out of touch themselves. So
yeah.
But yeah, precisely. So okay, but yeah, sorry to bring up Little House on the Prairie. Once you said Laura Ingalls Wilder, I was like,
oh yeah, it triggered. Yeah, it's set a whole trigger. But the whole point of it, though, is that when we love books, when we love literature, Harry Potter's another thing I stayed up all night for, and I must admit, the final Twilight book I did as well. But there's something magical about staying up all night and reading. Now, I didn't quite do that with the Dragon Reborn, but I literally would read for 3 hours at a time every morning before I would have to get up and be an adult. I could not put this sucker down. I couldn't do anything else. I forgot to eat breakfast. I was sipping on coffee, but my cat's sitting there screaming for his Valium. But I was just like, no, I'm reading this friggin' book. I want to find out what's going on. I really enjoyed it, and I'm already 400 pages into the Shadow, whatever the fourth one,
the Shadow Rising.
Yeah, that thing's like 900 pages in paperback, so it's a long one.
It's considered the longest Wheel of Time book. I mean, I've heard Lord of Chaos is the longest Wheel of Time book, but Shadow Rising is up there. It's like this. It's the first or second longest of the entire series.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the Shadow Rising. There's some really great stuff in the Shadow Rising. But there's a lot of stuff I didn't like in the Shadow Rising. So once we get to Shadow Rising, we'll talk about that. And well, I'm not going to talk anymore about it. But
yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing I liked about this book. It didn't have Paddon Fane because for some reason he annoys the crap out of me. I mean, and not in like a way you're supposed to appreciate it. For some reason, I'm not crazy about that character. Maybe I'll change my mind.
I mean, I liked him in The Great Hunt. Like he was a very effective secondary villain. I felt the stakes were high because of him. Because of that, that's kind of the reason why I really enjoyed the hunt, them going after him and all that. And then you find out that you're like, what is this guy capable of? Because you see the staked merge roll on the door. And you're like, they're like, who can do this to a merge roll? He did. And then I don't know if you've gone far enough in the Shadow Rising, but he's back in the Shadow Rising. I don't know if you know this, but he's back in the Shadow Rising, and you only see him in the prologue in this one.
Yep.
And he was there basically to provide information, and the prologue in this book was excellent. From the point of view of Pedro Nile, the Lord Captain Commander of the White Cloaks. That entire segment with him, and I mean, it was him and Child Buyer. then it was Jacob Carradine, and then it was Ordeith.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name in this. He calls himself Ordeith. And that
Yes.
comes from I think from him being being connected to Mordeth from Shader Logoth.
Oh. Okay, you see, that's the kind of things that as a newbie I don't necessarily always catch. Yeah, I'm looking
Remember
here.
Mordeth, the magician that they find in the Shader Logoth? It's him. And there's Mashadar, which is the tentacled smoke creature that comes out at night.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's weird.
So yeah, Mordeth is the one they took the dagger from, and Mordeth wants the dagger back. And Mordeth, they bring Padden Fane off screen during the events of the Eye of the World, and he kind of merges with Mordeth, and that's why he starts between him merging with Mordeth and him being distilled by the Dark One. He becomes this new type of being, this new type of evil that's going around. And
Like
I mean, I've heard that his story doesn't really pay off because of the fact that Robert Jordan passed away, and they didn't really know what to do with it. I don't think Sanderson didn't know what to do with him. So I'm not gonna say what it was, but yeah.
Sure. Okay, well, I guess I get a
Stapleborn,
little
what's
more
up, buddy?
appreciation. Yeah. For him with that. And who knows? I guess part of maybe the reason why I was annoyed with him, I don't know why I was annoyed with him. I
Well,
don't know.
he's
He just
always like,
annoyed
I
me.
want to kill you, Randall Thor. The war is never over,
Yeah.
Althor. I will take my revenge, and I will be free of you, or something like that. And I'll be honest, I said this last time. I kind of wish there was a little bit of a payoff to that. I wasn't expecting them to actually fight him, but some sort of ambush, some sort of ambush, something that kind of paid off, kind of. I don't know.
Well, definitely, I think in the Great Hunt, everyone was expecting something like that, and it didn't happen. And then he didn't even show up really for the rest of this book. So if people were hoping that was going to happen, it sure as hell wasn't, as you said.
Yeah. So his part in this was to set up the events of book 4, basically. And you're already reading book 4, so
yeah. So there we go. Now, as we start off, they're kind of all in this camp, and Rand, I guess he's feeling entrapped or something, and he gets this feeling like he needs to oh, I've got the wrong friggin' book in front of me. No wonder. I was like, this isn't the book I read. And I have the Great Hunt in front of me. But yeah, he got really frustrated or something and decided to use the force or whatever, the side-in or whatever, and caused like a huge earthquake. And that was really actually kind of scary because I forgot maybe a little bit because he was so badass at the end of the Great Hunt. I forgot that what he can do is very dangerous because he doesn't really have control, and there's a madness with him.
Yeah, he's struggling. So he's struggling because of the events of the previous book, and he's been struggling to control Sidene. Now that he's proclaimed as the Dragon Reborn, everybody saw it. Like everybody all over the land saw it. Even and one thing that this book reveals is that even the false dragons saw it too. And let's just say it gets further confirmed in a later book. But yeah, the pattern has its way of dealing. So the pattern was putting these false dragons out into the land, but now that Rand, the true dragon, has been has proclaimed himself, the pattern's doing away with the other false dragons. So there was one in like Gildan that gets killed, and one that doesn't have a name, and of course the other one is Mazrim Time. And Mazrim Time, you'll meet him in a later book, and Mazrim Time's introduction is excellent. I'll say that.
Oh yeah,
that's all I'll say.
Okay. Well, I want to continue saying hi to everyone coming in. I I've been saying hi here. We have Timon, we have Staplebow, we have Lemon Pie. I love Lemon Pie. Steve Kenobi is here, and he says he leveled up in book 2. That is actually a great way to describe Rand, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this book, Dragon Reborn, Matt levels up quite a bit in this one as well.
Oh gosh, Matt. Yeah. Oh, and
Um,
of course we got romance. Because
romance.
Perrin's
Oh,
got
Perrin.
romance.
Oh yeah, he meets Fael.
Yes, the Falcon, and that was another thing that was creepy. While Rand is going around going, "Oh, what do I do?" and like, "Oh, we've got this magic stuff going on," or whatever the hell they call it, the light or the
The power.
sidine,
Yeah,
the
the
power.
power.
Thank you. Yeah, that Min was seeing all these visions. Like there was one chick that showed up, and she's like, "Oh gosh, she looks like she's dead," and she was like, "I can't." To avoid it, but this chick's gonna die. I forget, like her face or her neck was all like that, kind of like something out of the
Bloody.
Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So so Min basically sees, Min basically sees auras around people, and
Mm-hmm.
she just knows. She doesn't know. She can't explain it, but she just knows what's going to happen to people. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so in this point, so this is Perrin's point of view in the first few chapters. Um, Perrin basically says, "Don't tell me everything," but she ends up telling him, if you see the most beautiful woman in the world, run. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I'm sure you know who he's talking about there.
Fear, probably.
Yeah. And I think there was the whole Falcon and the Hawk.
Okay.
So we know the Falcon is in this book.
Yeah.
I think at my point in the series, I still haven't found out who the Hawk is yet. At least I don't think I found out who the Hawk is yet. So I just finished book 6, so I still have another eight more books left. So
Yeah.
um
And of course, I'm scared to look it up. But yeah, the fact that she said that it would be a falcon, and when Perrin meets File, or I guess however you said her name,
Fael.
Aiel, thank you, that she had a different name, I guess, but she's like, "No, I'm called Fael," and then they're like, "That means falcon," and then he's like, "No," and he's like,
Well, then
and he
first she says,
trying not
"Oh,
to call
call
her
me
that name.
Mandarb." She says, "Call me Mandarb," and then he laughs because Mandarb's the name of Land's horse, basically his stallion. So,
Yeah.
by her real name is I forget. Do you learn her name in this book?
I think you do, because I think that's what.
So she's her name is Bashir.
Oh wait, maybe not. I don't have my notes in front of me because my notes are across the way. But I'm gonna grab them in a second. But yes, he, but I just love the fact that Perrin just kept trying to call her anything except Fael. He was like, "No, you're not the Falcon." He's like, "I'm not gonna call her that."
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Speaks as Min is like the lead in every Final Destination movie. Sees all the death. Yes, she is. Yeah, she's a
Yep.
harbinger of doom. And I think that's why Perrin was like, "If you see something, don't tell me." But of course, she had to tell him that.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, her name, I forget. Her name is Zareen. Zareen Bashir. Zareen Bashir is Fael's name. Yeah. Stig's got it.
oh yeah, there we are. Well, thank you. Yes, yeah. The chat is like the fifth or third or guest on these things, because yeah, I am such a newbie. I feel like it's really weird. How do I say this? When I'm in the world of maybe Harry Potter, or definitely in the world of Lord of the Rings, like I know it, but every time I step into this wheel of time, I'm like, I feel like I'm not on solid ground because it's all new. But that's what makes it exciting. But on the other hand, I maybe there's things I'm not putting together that I should.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of
Mhm.
detail. There's a lot of names. I've forgotten a lot of the names myself. Like I didn't even remember Fael's um, actual name. There's a lot of names in this. And a lot of names come back, and I've forgotten who some of these names were. I assumed they were new characters when they actually weren't new characters. So, like, there's a point in this book where they run across someone named Aludra, and Aludra gives Matt and Tom fireworks because she was the
Yes.
illuminator in Kyrian in book 2, where they blew up that building while they were hiding from Padden Fane's puppeted Trollocs. I don't know if you remember that in the Great Hunt.
I remember that, but yeah, I didn't catch that was the same person either.
Yeah, so Eludra's there. So we get so this book is basically parents' point of view, and then we get parents' point of view. We get Supergirls. That's what Mike's book reviews calls, Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene. I mean, they're little story arcs. Supergirls, and then Matt. Matt becomes a thing. Matt becomes a thing in like chapter 18 or something. Once they heal him, and then he starts recovering and all that. So, and Rand is basically missing the entire book. Like, you only get a few points of view at the end of a few chapters. And to me, whenever he shows up at the end of a chapter, it's basically the end of a character's particular story at that point, and then moves on to another point of view. And so I thought it was, and usually they're really interesting. You learn a little bit more about what's going on with Rand, and you're like, what is going on with him? Is he losing his mind? Is Saidin taking over? Is the taint taking him over? And you're just left. You're just hanging. The reader is hanging there the entire book with that question. And once we get to the end is just fantastic.
It's amazing. Well, and the fact that we could only really see him in dreams, it was like, that's not fair.
Yeah, and he attacks our characters in dreams. He attacks Perrin in a dream. I think he attacks Egwene in dreams. And this is the book that really begins the Teleron Riyadh thing. And this becomes the new thing that stays in the series. So like the first book was them going into the ways, and then running into Mashin Shin and all these other dangers. And then book 2, they travel with portal stones to different worlds.
Yes,
which I actually really liked. But then I found out that that was not going to be a thing in the later books, which disappointed me. I was hoping that they'd go to more worlds and find out more clues of what to do, how to prep for this this last battle. But now you're in the dream world, and the dream world was actually established in the first book. They just didn't call it Teleron Riyadh, and it was just there.
Yeah.
So,
well, what I think so cool about the Teleron Riyadh is the fact that we all experience it, because like they say, everybody does. And I felt myself a little bit as a self-insert that maybe that what we see when we dream is part of us touching something maybe that we don't understand that's actually real when we are asleep. And I thought that was really cool, because they said, well, dreamers like Egwene go in there and are active in that dream world, but other people are, and they don't know it. So sometimes Egwene would be in this dream world, and she'd just see some random dude going, "Hey, I like that picture." And that was like him being in a dream, the way it is for us in a dream. And it's weird, but so we all get to live in that world. And if I'm correct, I think they're heading, don't spoil that. I'm thinking out loud that this is going to be the key, I think, to everything, or definitely the key to something big, because we live in a metaphysical kind of world in here. God is a character here. He's called the Creator. And we have the Aes Sedai, and we are now seeing that there are people that can have these like supernatural things, prophecies and all that are just threads, if you will, because they can't completely understand it. But somehow in the dream world, it seems like things are starting to make sense, if that makes any sense.
I mean, I could see where you're going with it. They use the dream world to solve a lot of issues. There's an issue that begins in book 5, I think book 5, or maybe in book 4, I don't remember. But it continues. They set out to solve that issue in book 6, and they use Teleron Riyadh to find out how to solve it. And then they go and then they're on their way to this place, and book 6 ends, and they're still seeking out the solution that they're looking for in which is going to be in book 7. So yeah, the Teleron Riyadh's used quite a bit, and I think Egwene sees a lot of like there's still a lot of there's still a lot of portents. There's still a lot of like Egwene dreams quite a bit and sees things that are going to happen, they're alluding to something that's going to happen, I think. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would have to definitely review some of the stuff. There's a lot of details I forgot from this book and from The Great Hunt, about dreams and all that. But apparently this book begins with, or this book, the whole idea of the dream world begins with Varen pulling Egwene aside and giving her this ring that allows her to enter Teleron Riyadh at will.
Yes. I almost laughed at that because I'm playing D&D right now. And it reminded me of this magic ring will give you a +1 when you're climbing. Like I have a ring like that. And then she got the magic ring, if you will, that'll make it stronger because she already has the ability to do so. But I think this Tangriel, whatever they call them, it makes it more stark, makes it more anchored, if I'm correct. I don't know. I think there's a bit of a mystery there.
It allows someone, even someone who can't channel, can use that ring to do to do that particular ability. In this case, enter the dream world. So, but it's interesting that Varen gives her the ring, and Varen reveals to her that in this book that the even though there's multiple worlds, if the last battle, if the last battle, if they lose the last battle, every world loses the last battle, or something like that.
Yes,
which didn't make sense because in the last book, and on that world they went to, looked like the last battle already happened, and that world was completely wiped of all life because of that. So I didn't fully understand it, but apparently there's one dark one, there's one creator, and
multiple
if the dark
people.
one wins on one world, he wins on all of them, basically.
Yeah. So there is one like real reality, if that makes sense. But there's also a lot of parallel worlds. But yeah, so the creation and the final battle are what's constant.
Yeah. Did you pick up on in that same chapter, Ishamael and Balzaman are like two sides of the same coin?
Yes, yes.
Do you understand what that means?
No. So I don't know. Well,
but Balzaman is not the dark one.
No.
Balzaman is just another Forsaken named Ishamael, who basically went insane using this particular power that I don't even know what it is. Dane explained it to me, but it wasn't revealed in the books yet, so I can't really say. But there's a reason why he has fiery eyes and a fiery mouth.
Oh, cool. Well, to me, some of this whole talk with all of that is familiar to me. He is not even coming close to writing an allegory or anything close to that. But we do know that Robert Jordan was a Christian, and he definitely did use a lot of the universal religions. So part of me is like they were kind of speaking my language a little bit with some of this talk. But I also know that it's something that's completely different. Like it's not, he's not C.S. Lewis, for example, but it's something in that demon world, but maybe demon's not the right word. Like whatever the Forsaken is in the dark one, that they only hate so much because they love so much. You know how love and hate are the same thing. I don't know if that's where they're going with this, because, or is it just that their desire for power is so strong? I don't know.
It seems like they each Forsaken represents like a different type of evil, whether it be selfishness or in the case of well, we haven't gone this far with Lanfear yet, but
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, power is one thing. Power is definitely one thing that is acquired. Some of the Forsaken, like Lord Gabriel, for instance, you learn more. I know you learn more about him in a later book. One of my disappointments with that later book was that we didn't learn enough about Lord. Usually, at the end of a book, or usually at the end of a villain's arc, you learn more about the villain, or the villain reveals something that makes you hate him even more. I was disappointed with Lord Gabriel in particular, because I loved how Lord Gabriel was introduced in this book with Matt going to Camelin, climbing that same wall that Rand fell down in the Eye of the World.
Oh,
And
hell
then
yes.
he overhears Lord Gabriel in the Camelin Castle palace, saying, basically ordering this one lackey. I forget his name because he only lasts a few chapters. And he just orders the death of Elaine and Nynaeve and Egwene.
Oh, which is horrible.
And as horrible as that sounds, I am so annoyed with those 3 Supergirls right now that I kind of wish that it was successful, that we would get less time with them, or no more time with them, and more time with our boys. But that's
interesting. Well,
I mean,
they're not.
They're not okay. There are some good points, but a lot of the stuff that I haven't liked in the most recent books had to do with the Supergirls and their arcs, basically.
Well, so far, if there's one character that I really get annoyed with, it's Egwene for some reason, and Nynaeve. They rub me a little bit wrong every now and then, but I do like Elaine. So I don't know. Elaine, if I hear her tug a pigtail one more time, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Elaine is fine in this one. She's been the more stable one. But when you get to the Shadow Rising, when you get to a point where she's with a certain other character, she becomes insufferable later. But I'm starting not to like her. She just comes off as extremely weird and creepy, and just like a character. I'm just like, I don't want to read this character. I want to go back to Perrin, or I want to go back to Rand in this case, or Matt or something.
Yeah. Speaking of Matt, now Steeg says Norse mythology allegory in the story, plenty of it, especially with Matt. Now, maybe that's something that I didn't catch because, of course, that's not part of my lifeblood.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either. I don't know nearly as much about Norse mythology. All the Norse mythology I know is either from Marvel or from the new God of War game that came out.
And Marvel gets it completely
apparently
wrong.
Matt is Odin. Perrin is Thor. And I forget who Rand's supposed to be. Another character. I forget the other. Rand's supposed to be another one. There's a Sirius. God, I forget which one he is. So, but that's what I've heard from
there's
our buddies,
with
the White
all
Cloaks.
3 of the Tavern. Well, speaking of things that Tavern, speaking of like what you know, because obviously I am coming from a certain point of view, in that while I have some knowledge of world myth, I definitely wouldn't have caught this. So this is interesting. So maybe we'll get there when I'm done with all of it, because I'm afraid if we get too much into this, it might accidentally give me a spoiler. So I do understand, but we do know that Matt has. Oh wait, that's the next book. Never mind. But in any case, our Matt was severely injured because he's still messed up from the knife. So even though he was kind of saved, like his life was saved, but he was still dying. So he had to go back to the Amerlin seat. He had to go back to Tarvalon and have like this ritual thing with the knife. Like it's kind of like the poison, you got to have a little bit of the poison to do the antidote. They had to have the knife to kill the spell or whatever that was on him, the evil. And so whatever it was this big ritual, and it saved his life. So yay. And then he was hungry. I just laughed my butt off.
Yeah.
Like, why is he so hungry after all this? He just kept
because
eating.
he is practically all bones at that point. Like
Okay.
the dagger was eating him alive, basically. So he had to. They prescribed him to eat like a lot of food for like the next several days or something, or he would die. Basically, if he tried to leave, he would die. That's what, at least that's what the Aes Sedai say. And of course, Matt doesn't. Nobody trusts the Aes Sedai with anything. So,
Yeah.
but at that same time, when he's recovering, he's having visions and dreams that where he's in a previous life, he's leading a
Yes.
battle. And even during the ritual, he is screaming stuff in the old tongue.
Oh yes, yeah. He starts to
Cry of the
speak in
Nether.
tongues.
Yes,
Yes. And he's like, "How do I know the old language?" Yeah. And
and
Lanfear
he did
comes.
that. He did that in the Eye of the World when they had there was a battle that the wonderful show forgot. So
Oh
right
god.
after they flee Berlon, Moraine uses her mist ability that makes her look like a giant. They flee, and then in the battle, they flee, and then in the fields, on their way to Shader Logoth, they get into a really quick battle, and Matt screams out something random, a random piece. I forgot what it was, but that was something that kind of took me out of the story when I initially read it, because there was nothing that led up to it. I'm like, why is he saying this now? Why is he saying this now? Because I came off of reading A Song of Ice and Fire, and almost everything in Song of Ice and Fire was set up.
Mm.
Things in Wheel of Time just happen randomly, and that's kind of what turned me off from reading more of it. I mean, I liked how it ended, The Eye of the World, but I didn't read any more of it. I went on to a different book, and then I forgot
Oh
Eye of the World, and that's how I kind of fell off from reading it. This was 2015, 2016. So
yeah. Well, that makes sense because you know how I keep saying, "Oh, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that." It's like, yeah, if you don't know you're supposed to catch it, or if it does appear to be random, um, that's why I can't wait to reread. But I got to read the whole friggin' thing first. But
yeah,
in any case, then Lanfear comes and she talks to him, and of course he's always like, "So you're an Aes Sedai," and she's like, "No, I'm not an Aes Sedai."
are you a dark
And
friend? And she's like, no, I don't follow Balsamon. What do you think I am? I follow no one. So,
yes. Yeah, precisely. And so, but it's creepy how she just keeps showing up, and they're always like, "Oh, look at this pretty woman." I'm like, "No, you
and
dumbass."
she wasn't Lanfear. She was Selene. She showed up as Selene, and
Yes.
she showed up as Selene again. So I didn't realize it, but she was in several disguises in this one, and
Hmm.
things that even I didn't pick up on right away. She was not only disguised as Selene, she was disguised as other people
Hmm.
too.
Was she the one that was also disguised as Elsa? Right. The
Elsie Grinwald, because they figure out she tells them where the Black Odge's stuff is in the
Mhm.
in the cellar, and she flees, and then Egwene runs after her, and she runs into Lanfear. And I loved Egwene's reaction to Lanfear, because Egwene's like 5'3", and she's pretty, but then you get like
Mhm.
supermodel 5'11", 6 foot tall Lanfear. And I liked how Egwene's like, oh my gosh, I am not. It's like I don't even feel like I'm not even in the same league as her. I
Yeah.
love that reaction, because Egwene is so insufferable.
Yeah. Well, it's typical women. As a woman, I say, yeah, you get it hanging around a bunch of women. Oh my gosh, and especially each other. I like the fact that they fight a lot because that's what women do, and they're jealous of each other.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
I'm surprised they don't do it. I'm surprised they don't do it enough. But then again, Robert Jordan, Robert Jordan wrote the characters,
Yeah,
based on his experiences. So obviously, I feel he's had a lot of interesting experiences with women, and that's kind
yeah,
of why he's written women to be the way that they are.
yeah. Well, and when the goings on at Tarvalon, the way they are, it seems to be very accurate to like religious orders. Like when I read Saint Therese, what it was like living in the Carmelite convent. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my nightmare. Like living forever with just a bunch of women. And so I think that they really
Scrubbing pots,
yeah, scrubbing pots, or there's a
being hit with a
obedience
switch.
they have to have. Yeah. And that
Mhm,
there's different kinds. There's the brown, there's the green, and they're all kind of catty with each other. And then
mhm.
you've got like Varen, the brown Aja, who I like them because they're just sitting around researching all day. And I'm like, that's what I would be doing. I mean, that sounds like
Yeah.
fun. But,
I
and of
I
course,
I
everyone seems to hate the red.
Yeah, the red, basically, they live to basically basically take out every man that can channel, basically. That's basically their sole
Yeah.
purpose. So it seems like a good amount of them are are in the Black Aja. So
Hmm.
have you gone far enough in the Shadow Rising with the Red Aja and the Tower?
No, that's not happened. But I think it's really creepy that the Black Aja, and I think they find out definitively, well, that there were 13 Black Aja, but there's like more, or maybe they found out there were 13 in the last book, and but they're like, technically, we don't know how many there are.
So was
And
13 a biblical number? I mean, like I know 13 always represents bad luck or being unlucky. I think people
yeah,
said Judas was the 13th disciple or something at some point, Judas Iscariot. Um,
well, there were 12 of them, but uh, he was one of the 12.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
I
I'm
don't
just
think
curious
there.
where 13 is. I always thought 13 was biblical in its, in its bad nature,
I do not know off the top of my head. I don't recall that. I just know like the good numbers.
like
Everybody
7 and
Google.
3 and
Yes, 7, 3, and 12 are the good ones. Well, and 1, of course. But yeah, Friday the 13th, all of those things. But that would definitely go along with, well, the fact that he uses everything in it. I'm looking. Why is 13 considered satanic? Oh, check this out. The book of Revelation names 13 as the number of Satan. Well, okay. Oh, I see. Allegedly, 13th angel corrected by the Christian God was Lucifer. This is all apocryphal though, so screw it.
oh.
But yeah, in any case, yeah, that's not in there. But in any case, they're bad, and
So
13 is considered bad.
so we learn from the healing that Aes Sedai can link. They can
Mhm.
link, and they can boost their abilities, basically.
Yep.
And one part of this book that I really did enjoy was Egwene's accepted trial, where she goes into the arch, she
Mm.
goes and she experiences 3 alternate lives, so to speak.
Yes.
The third one was really good, and let's just say it foreshadows what you're reading right now in the
Mm.
Shadow
And
Rising, in a way,
okay.
in a weird way. So, what did you think of the? So the first one I think was just Rand's sick. Rand is
Uh,
sick because they never act on him leaving. He
well,
stays in the 2 rivers. He marries Egwene.
yes, and they have a daughter named Jem, and I think she's still like completely upset if I'm pronouncing it right. Jaim. Yeah, the fact that she has a daughter, and she says, if I could do something for them, if I could help my husband, but then the arch thing comes, and he's like, "Oh, help me!" I can't. Um, it's like, let me try Rand, she says. And then she saw the silver arch. The way back will come but once. So yeah, that was her first one. And the second one was
They're in Camelin,
mhm.
and Rand is injured, and Rand tells her to kill him or they will turn him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they can turn me. And she's like, light, help me. I cannot. And right when she goes through the arch, the last thing she hears is, help me, Egwene. Oh my gosh, that's just awful.
Yeah, I was hoping to see. I was actually really, maybe it's because of all the video games I played and this Song of Ice and Fire I've read. I was hoping something like this would happen, to the point where characters were in a very bad spot and they had to get out of it somehow. But no, I think this is just the worst. This is like the worst case scenarios. These
Mm-hmm.
are probably ideas that Robert Jordan had. He decided not to do them, but he figured out a way not to do them in the main story, but figure out a way to still include them in the book. At least that's what I think is going on.
Hmm.
And so he uses this as a means of showcasing the different ideas that he had,
Oh,
which I think is a really brilliant idea. I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah, I mean, why not?
with fantasy, you can create whatever you want. Create your own world, and you create your own rules, and that this is one of those things. So, um, but the third one, the third trial
Yes. We're.
in Tarvalon,
Mm-hmm.
that foreshadows quite a bit. It doesn't foreshadow it the way that they show it, but I'll let you say what is going on in the third trial.
Well, in the third trial, first of all, she's distracted because that's where she had found out about uh, the 13 of them. And so she keeps thinking 13, 13. And then all of a sudden she is a green, her stole is green. She's a green Aja. She has a green Aja, but she is the Amerlin seat. So she's actually the mother, and they're all calling her mother. Oh, her stole is green. I see. That's how she knew that she was green Aja in the
Yeah,
dream, because the other person was. And she keeps getting distracted from what she heard. It keeps going
and
13, 13, the Black
who
Aja.
takes it away from her?
Let me see.
Elida.
I'm glad that you can pronounce it. Yeah. And she's the one. Oh gosh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so Elida takes it away from her, uh, and basically, and just like because she's Red Aja, they capture Rand, and they're like, okay, we're going to gentle him, and we're going to take you away too. So they take her away. Uh, Egwene wakes up, and there's 13 Black Aja, and there's 13 Murdral, all linked together. Now, I don't
Yes.
know the significance of this yet because I haven't gotten that far in the series with the 13 Murdral and the 13 um, Aja. Well, I had to get to a point where they do link. That'll pay off in a later book. I won't say how. But a lot of the stuff in this, pays off in in the last few books that I read, and it's very interesting. Probably some of the best moments. Some of the I think I love everyone says it's probably the best moment, the best few chapters in the entire series is the payoff to what we learn in this third trial right here.
Wow.
Um,
Because she nearly dies in it because of the word I can't pronounce very well, Tangriel thing. They said that messed it up. And as she almost can't get through the thing of the arch, and she starts to hear the ladies going, we can't hold it much longer. And she hears the words that help her. She's like, the way to come will but once be steadfast.
yeah,
So she knows she has to do that. That's what they all do. But then there is a price to be Aes Sedai. The Black Aja waits, and she, comes through. And she didn't realize, of course, until they were all like, "Oh, she's okay. She's well." And she was like, "What the hell?" And they're all like, hey, you're here." And then they complete the ceremony. But yeah, she nearly died.
yeah, and they they came out very emotional. Like we
Mhm.
don't know what Elaine's trial was but Elaine was going through her trial simultaneously when Egwene was going through hers. So, but they both came out of it very upset, it's very emotional thing.
Mhm.
I actually really enjoyed. I remember listening to this. I was listening to the audio. I listened to this audiobook while walking at night here in Chicago,
Mhm.
and it was an interesting experience for me. I'm by myself. I'm listening to this, and then there's all this crap going down, and it was one of those. This was one of those chapters where I paid close attention. I was listening attentively to what was being said.
Hmm.
And usually with some chapters in Wheel of Time, sometimes I will think about something else because it's mostly set up in a lot of, a lot of detail meandering that Robert Jordan likes to do. That just kind of, makes me tune out a little bit. But this particular chapter kept my attention the entire time. It was
Nice.
crazy. So,
Yay.
and this is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this. This reason why I really enjoyed. This was one of the big reasons why I really enjoyed Dragon Reborn was this particular chapter.
Yeah, I thought it was incredibly powerful. And at the end, they're so upset. I'm sure that Elaine's had something to do with Rand. Oh wait, Egwene, because Elaine has a thing for him. They're all in love with Rand, of course they are,
Yep.
and they're all
Yep.
just they're all
Min,
just so
Elaine,
upset.
and Egwene. Yeah.
Yeah, though
And
Egwene's got
to me, it gets a little annoying. I love him. No, I love him. No, I love him. I'm just like,
have
we
already
have more
seen.
important things to think about than that. You could all be dead. There's a last
Mhm.
battle coming.
Precisely. But one thing that I really maybe related to a little too much was Nynaeve when they're talking about like the price they paid and how upset they were by what happened when they were in the Three Arches. And she tells them, hush, it eases with time, it eases the pain. That's what she's referring to. And she's like, one day we will make them pay our price. And I was like, ooh. So even Nynaeve seems like she's not too happy with the Aes Sedai. They're all Aes Sedai and they all want to be Aes Sedai, but it's like they have this love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So like this accepted trial was really like them showing the accepted, how they become accepted was pretty cool, pretty exciting.
Mhm.
And I was hoping to see something similar because first you start out as a novice, then you become accepted, and then you become Aes Sedai.
Mhm.
How it happens now, I know it doesn't happen yet, but I got to the point where our girls become Aes Sedai, and it was honestly, to me, I was expecting something equivalent to this, and we didn't quite get it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it makes more sense that it would be when they're when they're full Aes Sedai that the ultimate test is done, not when you become a novice. Because when you become a novice or an accepted, if that's the equivalent, that's actually when you can leave. You're not full Aes Sedai, so it would make sense to do it the
Yeah,
other way around.
yeah. I mean, I can't really get into why, obviously, because that would be spoiler territory.
Ah,
But yeah, I was hoping for more, and we didn't quite get it. I mean, people might disagree with me, but that's just how I feel. But our girls are getting really powerful. I mean, we see them. They meet. They leave, and they
mhm.
take a ship, and they meet some Aiel. So we meet Avienda for the first time in the
Yay!
story. And I'll be honest, Avienda was fine in this book. She becomes not. She joins the other Supergirls as being another insufferable character in the next
Oh.
book and in Fires of Heaven.
Well, I was
So
about to say, well, remember, not past this book. I'm just, I
yeah,
want
sorry.
happiness. Yeah, she is such a good character. Well, it's like, she is so amazing. I loved her. Absolutely love her. The Aiel, see, we find about the true thing about the Aiel people, which Rand, of course, is one of them. They're redheads and the Maidens of the Spear. I think that was kind of cool,
Yeah, the Far
actually.
Derise Mai is what they're called.
Yeah.
And Yeah, they meet them. They meet them on the road. They're trying to go from one port to another. The ship kind of gets stuck, gets stuck in some mud or something like that, and they decide to haul. They decide to hike to the next port, and they come across Samael Avienda, and her. I don't know if it's her sister or one of her friends is sick, and they ask them to heal, and they meet them, and then shortly after they part ways, they get kidnapped. The Nynaeve, our Supergirls, get kidnapped, and they get rescued. They get kidnapped on the orders of a few Murdral. Murdral come in, pay the brigands for their thing, and then all of a sudden the Aiel come and rescue them. And it was one of the coolest parts. It was one of the coolest parts of this book where they're just like, "Dance with us, Shadow Man! Dance with us, Shadow Man! Dance with us, Shadow Man!" And like the Aiel managed to kill all the brigands, and only left were the three Murdral, back to back, and they were just like, they were willing to die. Like even the gaze of the Murdral didn't look like it. Now apparently, I asked this question when I was doing my read, so apparently it still affects the Aiel. They just don't show it, or they can suppress that fear mostly, I think. So that's why they were just like laughing and saying, hey, dance with us, Shadow Man. And it was just so cool. It was, and listening to the audio book was just another great part right there.
Yeah.
And then of course, instead of them fighting, because they would have surely died against the Murdral, because the Murdral are not easy to kill regardless, even for Aiel.
Yeah.
Our heroes, our Supergirls, managed to balefire them. At least I think it was balefire.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
And all three of the Murdral are gone in an instant.
Oh, well, I don't know. I guess I didn't. I don't mind that. I mean, because they do have the power, and they're all working together. So
yeah. So apparently there's a lot more danger. There's a lot more plotting going on. So apparently, remember, Egwene goes into Teleron Rian. She's in the Stone of Tyr. She's in the Hall of Kalendor, and she runs into someone named Sylvie, some old hag named Sylvie. I was like, who is this character? And then I thought about it, I was like, oh no. Do you know who Sylvie is? Do you know who Sylvie is?
I'm assuming Lanfear is like an old lady, like, sure, poor old Sylvie will tuck you in your bed, my lady. And
yeah, Sylvie is Lanfear, basically.
Yeah, safe
because
in your bed.
the silver gown, and the way she talks. So that's one of the things I liked about this book, is that Jordan puts a lot of clues, and you have to really pay attention to the behavior of characters to like who is this character?
Yeah.
I see. So yeah.
Yeah, and it caused her, of course, great pain annihilated the world or something. So that's what she felt. So yeah, she definitely had a creepy thing, and Egwene did keep saying, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just Sylvie."
Plain and simple Sylvie. Yeah, that's right. I liked how in this book particular, so book 2 introduced Lanfear into the world. This book introduces a whole lot more Forsaken into this world, and they're already in positions of power under different names. I forget what. So apparently, we hear about the High Lord Salmon when we're on the ship with Tom and Matt. So Matt meets up with Tom again. So Tom comes back into the story. He's apparently in Tarvalon, and he's just drinking up a storm because of the fact that in the last book, the last time we see him, he nearly gets killed by agents of the King of Kyrian, and his girlfriend is dead. I forget her name.
Yeah,
But she is dead. He finds her dead, and then he gets attacked. And then, he finds out from the assassins who ordered it. And I was hoping, and I think I said this last time with you, I was hoping we would get to see that pay off, and that in another chapter in the Great Hunt, and we didn't get that. And then of course, I said this on my stream, and of course all of my friends are like, why would Robert Jordan do that? Robert Jordan can do no wrong. Robert Jordan was right to not do this. I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
If we would have had him confront the king. Maybe him and the king were friends as children, and maybe the king was blackmailed by a dark friend, and then of course when he gets or basically the king gets killed by another assassin, and then Tom has to flee, and they blame him for the death of the king. I think that would have been an interesting segment. It would have been very Song of Ice and Fire, but that's just,
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. Well, we do have what we have. And shout out to Al Dan. Thank you for being here. And he says, kidnapped again. Yeah. The kidnapping does get old after a while. It's like, really? It's turning out to be like Wonder Woman, the old Wonder Woman comics that I've been reading.
Oh, yeah, she does slap.
Tied up.
She does slap Egwene. That's right. There's a point where she slaps Egwene because Egwene makes a comment to Nynaeve. I forget what that was exactly.
Oh, I don't know though. I think that Egwene had it coming, frankly.
Oh yeah.
I mean, someone needed to slap her.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is this is not the last time. This is not the first time, or this is not the last time there will be a kidnapping. Teresa, I'll just tell you that.
Oh boy,
and they get wackier and wackier. Let's just say there's one in a later book that I may or may not have read that is just like ridiculous.
Okay, like I said, so it really is like Wonder Woman. Oh no, I'm tied up again. Help me.
Yeah,
I'm so helpless.
And who rescues them? The man.
Of course. Well, hey, that's all right. I don't mind getting rescued. I mean, women don't mind getting rescued by men, but yeah, it does get a little bit silly.
Well, in this book, they tell Matt's like, "Hey, I'm here to rescue you," and they're like, "Aren't you short for a? What do they call those guys? The guardians of the stone or something like that? Aren't you short for?" No, I'm kidding. That's not from Wheel of Time. Isn't that from another franchise?
Well, that's Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's what. Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. But yeah, he tries to rescue them, and they're like, quiet, Matt. You don't know what's going on." And he's just like, "What are you doing? We gotta leave. There's Aiel here. We have to get out of here." And like, you don't know, you don't understand what's going on. And then Elaine, then Nynaeve punches that Black Aja woman who they just they put a shield on, and she's like, help me, I can't move, I can't do anything, and she just punches her in the face. And Matt's like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you punching a defenseless woman? They're like, you don't understand, because they were kidnapped again at the end by Leandrin and the Black Aja, and
well, they got caught because the thief or whatever guy that they had hired,
Julian,
them, sold him out. Yes, you're right. And yeah, Matt didn't get it. And speaking of Matt, I want to do a little bit of a shout out to how kind of cool it was when he finally decided he was going to leave the Tarvalon, and he escaped using a piece of paper that the Amerlin seat had actually given to the lady, saying, whatever this person says, you have to do. And this is where I think you mentioned last stream that the Taverin thing really becomes apparent, because no matter what Matt did, it was ridiculous. Everything went well. And so he started gambling, and he got like a fortune and then he like with fighting some guy, and he fell off a thing, and he basically bounced. I mean, he couldn't.
He landed on him. He falls. He fights a guy on the roof. They fall together, and he manages to use the guy as a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
That allows him to survive the landing with unscathed, basically.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where I'll be honest. One of my issues with that is that this is one of the issues I have with this particular book, is that it happens so much to the point where I start to lose that fear for the character's safety. And that, to
Mhm.
me, that is not a good thing, because
Oh.
I want to care about the characters. I want to be afraid for them. It's part of the experience of reading this. And that's my problem with the Taveran thing now, is that, and
Mhm.
it becomes more and more so in the later books. And that's kind of why I've been getting a little bit more checked out on all this
Yeah.
lately, because I feel like
Yeah.
the main characters are too safe.
Hmm.
Now there's points where I know that the character. So here's my thinking is, if a character can still get hurt, then the character can still, even though they're the main character and I know they'll live in the book. If they get hurt, or there is something that's really that's really obstructing them from doing what they need to do, or other people are in danger, then I will still feel that investment. But a lot of the time, if characters keep surviving on their own, like Matt did in this book, I'm starting to get less and less worried about Matt.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, for me, I felt like it was how it's explained to me that they had to keep these characters alive and that this was the excuse for the keeping them alive.
Yeah,
Because
it's an excuse for plot armor,
yeah.
um, which I think which works, and it also, to me, doesn't work. Um, so yeah, it just, it has to be. Yeah, I feel like they have to. I personally feel they have to use it sparingly, um,
Mhm.
for me to really get as much out of it. Because when characters continually survive, situation after situation, becomes unbelievable.
Hmm.
Even in a fantasy where it's established that, oh, this is a thing, you know, that that these characters can move around and drive the events of the pattern, drive the events of history, in other words, because of that. So,
Hmm.
and it it's kind of why I've been really slow with finishing this series. Um, but
Oh.
besides that, I really did like Matt's arc, his adventure arc, basically, which is
Mhm.
what this was. Um, I was very, um, I liked his fight with. We learned that he can fight with a quarterstaff in this one. Now I don't remember why he didn't use the quarterstaff in the Eye of the World, because I talked to Gadfly Fiction. Gadfly Fiction told me that he did know how to use it. I mean, his father Abel was able to. Abel and Tam were the best at, doing. We're the best at doing stuff like that. We're the best at, at shooting at arrows or sword play and all that. So yeah. Um, um, so I'm not sure if it was established in Eye of the World that he could do it, but in this book he can. Apparently, he
Mhm.
can fight with the quarterstaff against two armed guys with a sword. Apparently, the quarterstaff is way more effective because you get a wider range as
Mhm.
opposed to a sword. So yeah, and he beats up Galad and Gawain. And
Yay!
they're like, "Oh, we're not going to fight him. He's too weak, and he's too vulnerable." And the what do you call it? The head warder is like, "No, I put money on him. You two are going to fight him." And then they fight him, and they both lose pretty badly. And
Oh.
what's funny is, while that's all going on, all the women, like all the novices, are like, oh, they're all like, starry eyed at Galad in particular. So Galad's the handsome is the handsome one that all the girls are just like, oh, it's him, and then you got Gawain too. Gawain's the younger brother. He's the one that well,
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
see what direction he goes in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love the way that they're hotties. Well, speaking of a hottie, look who's in the chat. It is Salty Traveling Sea, and he has a 99 super sticker, and it is a rose. Thank you for giving me a rose. And of course, You, sir, also get a rose. And
Yeah,
of course,
I gotta
thank
remember
you.
he's another person. I can't mass tag. Yeah, you can't.
Oh
Yeah.
no, no. What a case. Thank you so much, Salty Traveling. Thank you very much. And for those, well, the rose, of course, is my thing. It means several different hot, hot, hot. Yes, hot, hot, hot things. Now, there was a quote up here. Where did I find it? I think were you quoting George R. I'm sorry, not George R. R. Martin, J.D. Mack, Robert Jordan. He says, "'Twas the real Mac Cuthan standing up so good. Also, best plot armor device in history is Taverin. At least he's up front about it. LOL." So I didn't know where is that a quote that it's
No,
oh
he's just responding to what I said about.
oh
He's just
gotcha
responding to what I
gotcha
said about the plot armor.
yeah
I'm just stating how I feel about it ultimately.
understood. Okay, when I saw the quote, I was like, I'm not sure I quite get that. Okay, and Aldan is with me that he liked the map breaking out very well.
Oh yeah, it's his favorite moment in the entire series. I know
Yeah.
because he was on with us when we talked about this.
Gotcha. And I did get outlaw. Oh no, he got rose envy. Oh dear. Well, rose envy is the worst kind of envy. So, and of course, we don't want anyone to be envious here at Miss Martin Muses. So, thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. And so that I can save your soul from sin, here you go.
I can tell you another bad take from Aldan. He
Uh
actually
oh.
thinks Rings of Power is worse than the Wheel of Prime. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, I haven't seen the Wheel of Prime, so I cannot say so. Yeah.
Do
Well,
not see the Wheel of Prime. I mean,
oh no, I'm not.
unless you plan to make fun of it,
No.
or if you're very interested in what they don't do or how they
Mhm.
screw everything up, you know,
No. Nope.
or
I'm
how
not
they
touching it.
fundamentally disregard Robert Jordan in so many ways, that's the only reason why to watch it. I'm only
Yeah.
watching it because everyone else is watching it and we all get to suffer together.
Yeah. Well, that's for Prophet of the Dragon and those other things. I am adamant. Well, one, I have been told that they jumble around events, so I may inadvertently get a spoiler that I don't want. And number two, I don't want those images in my head. I want the pure Robert Jordan in my head, so I don't want to have to mess around with it. I mean,
They skip
it's
this book entirely
oh,
almost.
that's ridiculous. It's like the worst kind of porn. You don't want porn in your head. Well, okay, an argument for another day, but you know what I mean. I don't want those ugly people in my head, and I hate to say that because I think a lot of the actors in it are actually good looking, but they uglify them. So I don't want to have my characters look like that. So in any case, yeah. So everything that we've all been saying and Taverin, etc., and Matt, we love Matt. I liked the romance with Perrin and Fail, where she was kidnapped too, or the bad guys got them, and Perrin had to go and save her life, and he did, and that kind of made him realize that he loved her. But Perrin forges like a super duper warhammer thing, doesn't he? Because he's working in the forge, and he makes a
Yeah,
maybe not a warhammer, I forget what it is, a war saw. I'm terrible with
he has
military.
so he's basically throughout this book or maybe even the series, he is arguing with himself whether to whether he should wield the hammer and be a blacksmith and build stuff, or wield
Mhm.
the axe and kill and
Mm,
kill. And that's something that has continued, I think, throughout the series.
mm,
um and he when he now this happens now, we're skipping a whole bunch of things, when they get to Tyr is the
mhm,
final destination in this book. And this is the last book where all the characters kind of converge together at the end, and then
mhm,
after that it's the characters split off, and they don't they and they basically stay separated for several books. So I'm already I mean, I'm going to be starting book 7, and some of the characters that part after this still have not seen each other, and there's things that still have not been resolved yet. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting that Perrin. So Matt does not want to go back home. Egwene does not want to go back home. Perrin does want to go back home. And I believe Rand wants to go back home. And who cares what Nynaeve thinks? Nynaeve's just nasty to everybody, so nobody cares about Nynaeve. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But
Nynaeve has PMS constantly.
We learned that in this book, basically how they feel about going back, and how much they've developed since they left the Two Rivers and Eye of the World. So what I like, so I know you're still in book 4. They go back home. Some of them go back to the Two Rivers.
Yeah, but remember, we don't go past the Dragon Reborn here.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sorry,
not today.
But I liked where it does go. But like I was bringing up earlier, the Forsaken are loose. So we meet. So we hear about High Lord Salmon in Tyr, and then we meet Lord Gabriel.
Yep.
I don't know if you've. One thing I recognize, one thing I figured out was when someone is referred to as Great Master, that they're Forsaken. So that's how I figured out Lord Gabriel is Forsaken.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. Well, okay, I will pay attention. And of course, we find out the real name for him is Ishmael, or one of them. I forget which one is Ishmael.
Alzamon.
Oh, yeah, the bad one. Yeah, the one
are two sides of the same page or something like that, hidden from each other or something. At least that's from one of Varen's texts, basically. You got that. And I got a question. What do you think of Varen so far? So Varen went and joined them in the Great Hunt, and she said that Moraine sent her, but then at the end, Moraine says she never sent her. And then she's giving Egwene in this book, the ring to Tel'aran'rhiod, the ter'angreal, the stone ring, I believe is what they call it. Yeah. And find out that she was in ter'angreal because she has she has marks, she has wounds from it. So apparently when you get wounded in ter'angreal, the wound stays with you when you wake up. And if you die there, you die, I think, for good or something.
Yeah. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. So, so I'm curious what you think of Varen so far.
Well, I don't feel like Varen is bad. I don't think that she's one of the Black Aja, but she definitely seems like she's in the know about something we don't. I guess that's the most I can say. I don't know if it's something maybe that she found in some of the text or some of the prophecies, but I don't feel like she's bad.
I haven't gone that far yet. I haven't gotten that far, but there is something interesting about her that I think we'll learn. So I mean, she's been around for a while. She's one of the older Aes Sedai, so I think there's way more to her story to unravel. So, so I don't know it yet because I haven't gotten that far myself. So, but I think her story. I think she's one of the more interesting characters in the series.
Oh,
so far.
Well, cool. Yeah, well, I like her. I think I was telling you earlier, I was loving her place where she's hanging out, living above the library, basically, in the tower front, or the White Tower, whatever that name is, in Tarvalon. So I'm fascinated by her, and we shall see. So we get to the climax of the story. Now, there was a prophecy that when the stone tier thing, like this big fortress at Tyr fell, that would mean that the dragon was reborn, like the real Dragon Reborn was here, and the last days were upon us. And to make a very long story short, and it gets all very complicated, there's this big attack, and there's this big fight in the Aiel, and everybody basically they do conquer it, but ultimately Rand suddenly shows up in the real world. It was so weird when we finally got a POV with him, and Maureen is there, and they have this basically this sword in the stone. Calandir, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm not entirely sure, but the super duper
Kalendor.
sword. Yeah, Calendor, sorry. And when Rand claims it, it is so badass. I love it. It is like it's again this King Arthur, like we have the one true king kind of a moment I felt. And then he faces Balthazar for real. They go through this like I don't want to say portal, but it was it a portal? I forget where they went. Because like something opened up and they jumped through.
It was a door.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, like what's up with this door? But they go through and have this big epic fight. And then he is sent to hell forever, isn't he? I think. I'm hoping. Well, is it
Maybe,
forever?
maybe not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you skipped the beginning of the. He fights someone else first when
Oh,
he approaches the sword, and how I framed the initial fight. I framed it like Empire Strikes Back, where he fights Bilal, and he forms a red sword of flame. So to me, a red lightsaber, and
oh,
the Forsaken Bilal, High Lord Salmon, brings out his black lightsaber, his black sword, and he's telling him, "Take it, loose there, and take it."
yeah.
And he's like, "You don't remember me," and you get a nice little history of the character. And I really thought it was really like the dialogue that Jordan writes for Bilal or High Lord
Mm-hmm.
Salmon is so good. It is so good. It is so wicked. It is so you're listening to it like, wow, this dude has a way with words. And I'll say this: the end of Lord of Chaos. I know we're not that far, but Jordan had a great way with words. A lot of great quotes at the end of that, which is I was just like I was telling everybody. We were in Discord, and I was texting. I was messaging all my reactions to all the different things that Jordan writes, and so or the different the quotes and all that. It's just a lot of it is so good. A lot of it's so good. But it was very Empire. I framed it like Empire Strikes Back. So at the end of the Great Hunt, when Rand's in the sky and he's walking in the sky, and then all of a sudden there's Balsamon there. I envisioned it like Balsamon was like Darth Vader, just waiting for him with the sword, and then they fight and all that. This one was more like Empire, where he's wondering, and then all of a sudden, you get a little bit of Darth Vader, and you get a little bit of the Emperor where he's tempting. He's telling Rand or Luce Theron to take Calendar. He's like, no, I will not take it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they fight, and he's losing. So Rand is losing the fight because Bilal is a blade master. He's better than anyone he's ever faced. Better than Land. Better than even the High Lord Sam or High Lord Turok from the Great Hunt, the Shanshan Lord. And it just made me wonder like how much more powerful are the other Forsaken. And then he's losing, and then all of a sudden Moraine shows up
Yeah.
and pays off an event that happened earlier. So when earlier they were in Ilion, and Ilion, they were attacked by Gray Men. So I don't know. One thing we didn't talk about was the Gray Men. What do you think of the Gray Men?
Oh yeah, the Greymen. They're like
Or they're actually
assassins.
great people, just to be politically correct here.
Oh, okay. Well, because there's maybe some women among them. Yeah, they're like assassins that are sent, but they're not like fully human. I don't want to say they're
They are the
zombies.
soulless. They are called the
Yeah.
soulless in this. And so this book doesn't really do them justice. This is another issue I have with this, is that this book didn't really do them justice. When you introduce a new bad guy, you have to show them how dangerous they are and how effective they can be. What's funny is in this, they don't really show that. the first thing you show is them trying to attack them and then dying in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But in later books, you see them being successful at taking out very strong people, very
Yeah.
strong warriors. And there are points where there's a lot of close calls because of what they are capable of. And the thing is, um, they they are basically invisible. They are basic. They, I mean, they're not invisible, but they are invisible to people's attention. So, like,
Mm.
I don't know if them being there causes everyone to have attention deficit disorder where they don't pay attention, because they're just, when they're there, they are never noticed, and when they attack, it's always good. It's always too late. That's how
Yeah.
effective gray men are.
Yeah, they like blend in so well. Well, I definitely
They're
felt that
or
they were
well,
very dangerous.
the word that Robert Jordan uses is, there's an ordinary person, and when you hear the word ordinary person, you're like, oh no,
Yeah, look
oh no,
out.
you know, that's how good that's how. So I mean, as much as I complained about that, when you hear the word ordinary, a person that looks ordinary is walking past, you're like,
Yeah,
so
beware.
that was effective. So that's part of the reason why that's another big reason why I really like this.
Mm.
So um
Well, there you go. Well, yeah, and they're really bad. I mean, I felt like they were incredibly dangerous. I was scared of them, like how quick how they nearly killed the ladies and all of that. So yeah,
yeah
I'm
some
looking
yeah
forward to
so
more of
Yeah,
them.
so apparently there was more to that that I didn't even know about myself. There's still some mystery of who shot the crossbow in the tower, and then they
Ooh.
find the dead gray man with a blade in him. You're like, what happened? What was going on? And then
Oh,
that mystery has not been solved. I don't know who did that.
yeah.
I'm sure Aldan Staple will know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, definitely Tarvalon is not safe. We know that it's infiltrated. It's infiltrated by goodness knows how many, not even Black Aja, maybe just other.
Celine Lanfear's there.
Oh, and well, yeah, of course she's there, so that makes it dangerous as well.
But
Um,
but she, I mean, do you think she's the only Forsaken there?
oh, probably not. That's what I'm saying. It's just the fact that we know that it's not safe. It's been infiltrated. We know that Landfair has been there. We know the Black Aja are there. And, well, who knows what or who another dark person may be. I do not know the answer to this, so I swear I will kill you all if you say yes or no, but maybe even the Amerlin seat is a Forsaken. Though, I don't know if that's possible. But in any case,
No
maybe
comment.
that's what's going on. Or she's working with them. Who knows?
You'll find out.
Yeah.
You'll find out pretty soon, actually.
Yeah. I'm not even looking at your face right now because I don't want to I don't want any spoilers. Yeah. So in
Of
any case,
course.
so yes. So 2 thumbs up for the gray men. And then as mentioned in the chat, while they're fighting, while Bilal and Rand are fighting, he's being tempted, and we're going through all their history together. Then
So good.
Maureen
So
comes
good.
in and it says a bar of white fire hotter than the sun shot from the Aes Sedai's hands. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, so that was revealed right after the Gray Man attack in Ilion. So they find out that another Forsaken, Samael, has taken over Ilion, and
Mhm.
they are basically trying to get away, and they see these footprints of these hounds. So apparently this book also introduces dark hounds. One dark hound tries to attack Rand when he's just, sitting up against the tree, and Rand uses that same ability, the balefire, against that dark hound and completely obliterates it from existence. Not
Mm.
just existence, from the pattern.
Wow.
That's how dangerous balefire is. So
Nice.
you'll find out more about it in a later book, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they don't use it. It's extremely destructive.
Okay. Well,
It can unravel everything, literally.
nice. Well, cool. Well, there we go.
So
Nothing like something
Moraine
like
uses
that.
that same. So they're being chased by darkhounds on horseback, and they get to a point where they get to a high point, and Moraine's able to shoot and destroy all the dark hounds that are chasing them with that same ability. And they're like, how do you know how to do this? Like, oh, because I was gone. I was gone and I was reading stuff, you know, and the Great Hunt, she was reading stuff and she learned it basically.
And Stapleboy said he thinks Nynaeve used it as well.
Yeah, she used it
Yeah.
when the Aiel attacked and saved them, and then you know they had the Fades cornered, and the Supergirls got out of their thing. They turned into like Dragon Ball Z characters, and then they just completely obliterated the three Fades, the three Murdral. They were trying to buy them from the brigands. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and then after that moment, then Moraine says, well, that one dude, Bilal, was right about one thing, which is you do need to take it. And when he took it, it says the one power surged through him, a torrent greater than he could believe, from Sidine into the sword. And I just love it when it goes, when he turns to face Balasamam, and then he goes into that door, and Rand just goes, I am the hunter now. Oh, did I love that?
Yeah, so he leveled up further. So the moment he took Kalendor, he immediately leveled up, and yeah, so Baalzamon just basically appears. So right after Moraine kills Bilal with the balefire, Baalzamon shows up. He is basically, you know what Baalzamon does? He's always like, you know, standing in the air, and he basically knocks Moraine out of the picture. Uses like they say Black Thunder or Black Lightning, and it just grabs her and knocks her into one of the pillars, because this is the Stone of Tear, and the heart of the stone is basically full of red pillars. So she gets knocked against one of them, and then Baalzamon basically uses his ability, he's like, I'm gonna rip your soul out, and he grabs Rand by the soul or something. I don't want to say or another, or I was when I was listening to that the other day, I was thinking maybe just grabbed him in the nuts, and that's why he just felt so. He's like, that's why it felt like forever when he tried to run and grab Kalendor, and then once that happened, pain was gone. Baalzamon flees. They go into Teleron Riyadh, and he gets attacked in multiple ways, and it's so good. And then he just kills, like he's like, you cannot kill me. And he's like, I am, you are, and then he just kills him with the sword.
Yeah.
Cuts
he
all
is
the bonds
dead
off,
then.
and yeah.
That's what I was good. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so he is gone this time. It's for reals. Yeah, and that was pretty awesome.
But is he gone?
Well, that's what you said.
I mean, you see a body there, but I mean, this is fantasy, you know. I mean, maybe he's not gone completely.
Oh, gee. Okay, fine.
I'm kidding.
Oh, it's like, screw you. Rand uses a calendar to block balefire from Baalzamon. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, once again, Star Wars, you know.
Star Wars, yeah, like Luke Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah, he literally he cuts the beam in half, so the beam goes. So I'm thinking anime. I'm thinking like, you know, explosion behind him. His hair's probably ruffling from the energy and all that. So it's some really stylistic shot that I'm just thinking of in my head. Animated, of course. If you're gonna do this properly, I think animation's the way to go. Anime is the way to go.
Well, I think the adaptations that we're going to get that will be the best and the only one is the graphic novels, which so far are good. At least the art that I've seen so far looks like it's pretty good. They have only got through the Eye of the World right now in the first volume of The Great Hunt, but eventually they'll get there. So yes, that or anime, but we've also learned that anime won't be safe either with that whole Rohirrim nonsense. But before we digress any further, because like I said, that could get me going for an hour ranting and raving about that Bolshevik. We have dun 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 the revelation that the Aiel, they're the people of the dragon, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're looking for he who comes with the dawn.
And that is Rand. Better be, at least. Yeah, so that's what they called it. So they had prophecies, but their prophecies were slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of he who comes with the dawn, they're looking for, or instead of the dragon reborn, they're looking for he who comes with the dawn, who's to become their, well, keep reading the Shadow Rising, you'll know.
Okay, cool. And then, oh gosh, one by one, veiled men and helmeted, they knelt to him, Rand going, "The dragon is reborn. The dragon is reborn." Oh, yeah. And that's the first time that Rand goes, "I am Rand al'Thor. I am the dragon reborn." And then over the stone thing, they beheld the banner waving from its greatest height as the banner of the dragon, the fulfillment of the prophecy. And they all yell, "The dragon, al'Thor, the dragon, al'Thor." So, yay! It was very, very, very triumphant, that moment.
Yes, it was. Yes, it totally was. I actually made a video, or I actually made an intro portraying that part of the book.
Ooh.
That's if I really enjoy a part of the book, I will try to reenact it. And I had Nathan to do the narration,
Oh,
and
cool.
I basically edited that as part of the intro for my Dragon Reborn streams and all that. So
Nice. Okay, and then there's one more point I want to focus on here before we start to wrap up, where they found a disc the size of a man's hand, seemingly made of two teardrops fitted together, one black as pitch, the other white as snow. And they were made by something called Skundilar, unbreakable by any power, even the one power. And Elaine says, one of the seven seals, Luce Theron Kinslayer, and the 100 companions put on the Dark One's prison when they resealed it. And then Moraine goes, actually, it's more like a focus point for one of the seals. So, and then Nynaeve says, for the first time, the seal is unbroken, as if that mattered now. So I'm not sure I understand all that, but there it is. They found that.
yeah. So. Yeah, there's I think a few seals that have been broken at this point in the story, and I think there's 4 that are unaccounted for. That we learn. I mean, it's basically the discs are basically they're basically degrading by themselves. I don't think because the Quendiar is supposed to be indestructible, you can't use the power against it, according to them. They could be wrong. So a lot of the things that are claimed in this, I mean, could possibly be wrong. I mean, I haven't gotten this far in the story yet to know, but there's a lot of things that I've learned that might not be true. It could be misleading. Kind of like, people think they know stuff, but they actually don't. So kind of like, in Song of Ice and Fire. So
yeah.
So the seals are being degraded one by one. Even not in the hands of the enemy, I think they are still being broken without them being in enemy hands, basically. So yeah, the last battle is inevitable. Once all 7 are open, once all 7 are broken, that's basically when the last battle is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it says here, I found it. 3 of the seals are broken. Only 4 still hold. Only those 4 seals stand between the Dark One and the world. And it may be that even with those whole, he can touch the world after a fashion. Whatever battle we won before, what we won here, battle or skirmish, it is far from the last.
Yeah. So they think that Rand thinks, and Rand and Matt both think that they defeated the Dark One.
And she tells him, nope.
Nope, you didn't.
Sorry.
that was just another Forsaken. So yeah. This was a great book, had a great ending, and yeah, got me excited to read book 4. Got me excited to get into book 4, and then there were parts of book 4 that kind of were slow for me, and it took me a while to get into it. But there was really some really good things in the beginning of the book. And yeah, I mean, you have to finish
Yeah.
it before we can talk about it. So
Yeah. Well, and I know I said that there's going to be one more thing, but there is one more thing, because apparently Landfear was there. She got through to that noble chick, and she didn't even know why she had a letter, but she's like, there's a letter, and it says, Luce Theron was mine. He is mine, and he will be mine forever. I give him into your charge to keep for me until I come. Signed, Landfear.
yeah, just wait until so yeah, so Lanfear already thinks she's his. So just wait until
Yeah. Oh, I'm
how,
sure. Well,
how do
hell,
you think she would react if somebody else liked him and
oh well,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, Elaine and all of them. Yeah. Hell hath no fury. I'll tell you what. Women are brutal when they are jealous, and she feels like she possesses him. But oh gosh, I thought it was just so cool.
Yeah,
And
you'll definitely see that what happens in a future book. I won't say what or where or when or how,
yeah, well,
but
we know it's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and let's just say it's tied to the fate of another character. Can't say
Oh,
what, but it's something. It's something definitely to look forward to. It was one of the better parts of that particular book, and
yeah.
it's very. And there's some really great dialogue in that chapter that's very heartbreaking. And I'm
Oh.
not going to say who says it because you haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's okay. Yeah. Well, and then after all of that, Matt goes and says, You can count on me. And as they're all just kind of standing there together, going, Oh my gosh, from outside, the cry still rose unceasing, the dragon, Althor, the dragon, the dragon. And then there's like a poem thing, and it says, And it was written that no hand but his should wield the sword held in the stone, but he did draw it out like fire in his hand, and his glory did burn the world. Thus did it begin. Thus do we sing his rebirth. Thus do we sing the beginning. And that's how the book ends.
Yeah. Very good
Damn, I love
stuff.
it. Yes.
So I would say I would give this book 9 dragons out of 10 or 9 gray
Mhm.
men out of 10.
9 swords of Kalendors, 9 not taverns, tangreels or whatever. I
Uh,
can't pronounce anything.
12 Aes Sedai out of 13.
There you go. Yeah, I actually was thinking about 9 out of 10 because I loved it. I really did, but it wasn't perfect. There's always like some parts of it that I'm like, come on, Jordan, get going. Or maybe there was a part of me that felt we should have had more Rand in this book. Like maybe seen a little more of his journey.
I liked that there was a chapter that we didn't talk about where they're kind of trailing him. They're going into towns that he's already been in,
Mm-hmm.
and the effect that he had on those towns was I thought it was very interesting. Like one town they go to, everybody's just becoming bricked, and they're all wanting to get married and have sex and get married.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
there were all these weddings that were going on, and he was there, and he was just playing, he was playing his instrument, at all the things, and then he had to move on. And there were like different, like there was good things and there were bad things that were happening that
Mm.
to the towns that he was passing. So I and that's just kind of the way. I mean, Pips on one of my streams said that it was the kind of, he thinks it was the pattern's way of of uh, of trying to correct an imbalance, basically,
Mm.
with him. So there's some good stuff happening. There's some bad stuff happening. All that obviously is indirectly caused by him. Um, I thought that was, I mean, it's been a while since I've read it. I don't remember the exact
Mm-hmm.
details of it, but it was a very interesting chapter. It was a parent chapter.
Yes. Yeah, it was kind of fun. And yeah, you just imagine suddenly everyone's just YOLO.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so that's how you know. Yeah. And hello, Ancient One. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, yeah. And so far, I would give the series, well, I can't really give the whole series a score until I'm done. But for everything that I've been having, I think the series so far is pretty much a 9.5 out of 10 because it's keeping me turning the pages. And now that I'm back into it after 20 years, I just want to know what's going to happen. And it kills me because of the internet. I could find out with just a few clicks. I can just go and Google the ending, but I won't. I've not been doing so. So I I mean, when you do things like the end of the world, I guess good has to win at the end, because if the whole thing ends just with the King of Darkness winning, that's
Yeah,
so bleak.
yeah, but you don't know who's going to live and you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die.
That's true.
And that's kind of yes, the good guys are ultimately going to win. I mean, but at what cost? That's kind of what you got to think about going into it.
Yeah, and even though they're Taveran, that doesn't mean that this plot armor that they have because they're Taveran doesn't mean it'll be like for the whole series. Maybe it's going to be the pattern is you go until book 9 and then bye Matt or some other character. So
but yeah, this one was a good one. This was a really good one. So that was
yeah.
just me responding to Ancient One.
Oh yeah. Okay. And like Sonic 3. Yes, it's all connected. It is all righty. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this party. I wanted to say thank you, Nerdporeal, for being here again. And we're first time readers, so if anything that we've said has made people go, "Oh my gosh, they are so clueless," it's because we are. We don't know what's gonna happen, and please don't let us know. So where can we find you, Nerdporeal?
You could find me. You could find me on X. I have a new account at Nerdporeal Life. Not my old account. My old account was hijacked by a scammer, international scammer who's been stealing people's accounts. So if you're on X, be very careful when someone you don't know DMs you. They will try to pretend that they purported your account for fraudulent activity and that that X support is investigating you. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. They actually tried to scam me on my second account. I was like, nice try, and then they immediately blocked me. So be careful with that. So if you're subscribed or if you're following the Nerd at Nerdporeal, or the scammer changed it to at Nerdporeal, at the Nerdporeal, block it as much as there is, and report it basically. So
Yep. So when in doubt, don't believe anybody, because if there really was something that was going to be happening, it probably wouldn't come to you through DM anyways. It's like when I get emails saying, "Oh, your credit card has been compromised. Click on this link." It's like, yeah, right.
No. Yeah. So they proposed as people I knew, or first person that was someone I thought, and I was on vacation. I was in a good mood, and I was just like, oh, and I just walked right into it. So it's just something you gotta be careful with. So, but yeah, so that's me on X, and of course my channel, Nerdporeal Lifeform. Been meaning to do some more video content. I've teased a few retrospectives that I still haven't done yet. It's been a while. It's been a year since I've made any videos. So I want to get back into it. I know I keep saying I want to get back into it and I don't make the time to. So, but Chilporial. I did an earlier Chilporial today with Orville Nation. We talked about the Orville and Star Trek and science fiction. Definitely check that out. It was a great conversation. And definitely I did talk a little bit about Lord of Chaos with Pips last week, and we talked about a whole bunch of other stuff that we are in our lives. So definitely check that out. So so Chilporials are still going strong. I'm probably not going to have my next one for another week or two. So we will. So we'll see where that goes. So so nothing for me this week.
Okay, well, fair enough. And you'll find me here in Miss Smart Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. There may be some musings because sometimes I just like to muse because that's what people do. Also, I do have a February challenge, which is for men especially, to watch the entire 1995 Pride and Prejudice miniseries because you have to. And I've decided Pride and Prejudice and Zombies does not count. It has to be the 1995 version. And take notes for your women friends. I am going to be doing the challenge, but it's not too hard for me to rewatch that miniseries because I love it more than life itself. And Valentine's Day sucks. Come on. Everyone celebrates a man getting but a Roman soldier getting beheaded in the 2nd century by making single people feel guilty. That's ridiculous. No, celebrate with Pride and Prejudice and eat all the candy you want, but screw Valentine's Day, except for the real Valentine, because we like him here at Miss Smart Muses. I'm going to be having some videos coming up, more letters of J.R. Tolkien likey. I do have a lore video on Snow White that I'm hoping to get done in time for Snow White. So stay tuned. I usually drop those on Fridays. And probably more Catholic explaining. I'm going into the 10 Commandments and look for those on Sunday. So
10 Commandments. So yeah, I heard about those. So
yeah, there's 10 of them. And I've been deep diving into them. And I'm like, whoa.
Thou shalt not build unto thee any graven image. 2nd Commandment.
Oh, don't even get me started. Hey, I'm going to answer that in it. So yes.
or is it thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain? So weird it's so weird how 10 Commandments are like the Bible. Exodus portrays it one way, Lutheran Catechism portrays it another way. So because I used to do when I was in grade school, I went to Lutheran school. We had to do memory work, and memory work was either Bible verses. We had to recite Bible verses, or we had to recite parts of Lutheran Catechism, whether it be the Creed or the 10 Commandments and what they meant. So I had to memorize the 10 Commandments and what does this mean and blah, blah, blah. So whatever was in the Lutheran worship hymnal, basically. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. So you could do Lutheran splaining one day, maybe, or at least you would know it.
It's been years since I've even. Last time I was in anything Lutheran, I was 14. That was 26 years ago.
Oh, well, that's just like yesterday. But yes, I will be going into all of that, and we will be doing the 1st Commandment. We've already done a little bit of an introduction. When I use the royal we, I don't mean to. It just kind of happens. Oh, look, oh gosh, I'm going to mess this up. Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. Hello, thank you for being here. You should not like the chief. Is that something to do with
Sounds like Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl. Oh yeah, well, we don't watch the Super Bowl here at Miss Martin Muses. We'd rather talk about fantasy, but it was so rigged this time around. I don't even know, and I don't care except for the people that maybe have bets. I hope
everybody hated the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah.
I follow Feanor on X, and Feanor was talking about it. Apparently, they wanted Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, to make it so that they can do something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a Swiftie. I never listened to Taylor Swift. I can't stand that song "Shake It Up."
Nah. I used to like her back in the day. I liked her first album, but yeah, I could care less. But
all her songs are about all the boys she's broken up with, or all the men she broke up with, basically. I'm sad now because I broke up with them. Now I'm lonely.
I meant like 10 Commandments. Oh, I'm not sure I get the reference then. You should not like the chief. Okay. Super Bowl Eagles just murdered the Chiefs. Oh, good. Okay. I like her old stuff. Yes, I do too. For that. I meant the 10 Commandments for that. Okay. And yeah, about talking about they've learned from the last 2 films for this Sonic. Okay, well.
Yes, the 3rd Sonic movie is an adaptation of the 2nd Sonic Adventure game. It's a game, basically. So it's a very good game. It's actually a very good story. I saw the movie. It was okay. I mean, it's Majority of fans liked it. I have a Sonic cartoon right here where my finger is. It's called Sad AM. It's an old cartoon from the 90s. That's a well-written Sonic story. Really good. Really good stuff.
Okay. Oh, well, there you go. Alrighty. Well, yeah, that's a little bit of coda. I mainly watch soccer, football, real football, the one you use your feet with. But they have their controversies too. They have their referee issues.
You got your hooligans. They're all fighting and punching each other in the face. Yeah.
Well, they've mostly gotten that taken care of, I think, like in England. But yeah, I would never go to one in South America. I have some friends there, and they're like, I'm like, are you going to go to the match? And they're like, are you crazy? No way. It's like, we're watching it on TV to be safe. But yes, we do not denigrate sports here at Miss Smart Muses because it's good and healthy for you and everything. But do get into fantasy, and everyone that is watching and that will be watching in the replay, please comment, but remember, no spoilers. Don't be a jerk. And also, I won't believe you. So there. So thank you to Ancient One. Thank you to Real. Gosh darn it. Real
Wade Nation.
Real Wade Nation Gaming clips. Okay, thank you. Staple Bow, thank you. You were here all the time. Thank you for getting the comments. And of course, Ancient One. We love Ancient One here at Miss Smart Muses. Adega, Outlaw, the Nerdporeal Lifeform. Oh, that's you. We had Steve. He was here for a while. Al Dan, thank you for being here and giving comments. Thank you, Adega Outlaw, for the $1.99 super chat, and Salty Traveling C for the 99-cent super sticker. And if I missed anyone, it is not intentional. Sometimes the chat jumps. Oh, how could I forget Lemon Pie, my favorite, and Timon, FLP. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great day. And be certain to read the Wheel of Time.